Okay, so fearing abandonment. Some people are getting freaked out a little bit. So I'm trying to put fear into people because what in life ever comes easy, right? If everything was happy, then where would we be? We have to look at fear in order to know where it comes from. Okay, this is why, I have a dark side. Okay, not an evil dark side, but I have a dark side in order to get you to look at fear, in order to put it in you so you can look at where it stems from. Where does the fear stem from in you? Okay, so if you was blaming someone else, who is it that you are actually blaming? So, again, so we look at the plate, okay? Source of energy, one thing. This can say yes across here, yes, okay? So when you say no, who are you saying no to? Yourself, right? So if you're saying yes, who are you saying yes to? Yourself. So if you're fearing, who is it that you fear the most? What scares you the most? Yourself, right? So when we look at this as one energy of what we went over, or what I went over before, which is on Vimeo, if you look at this as we are all related, we are all related. That's why we relate. That's why I always try to get people, you don't have to believe me. I try to get you to believe in you. Everybody, to get to them to believe in themselves, into themselves. To put fear into people sometimes, because that's where you have to pinpoint where that's coming from, which is you. Okay, it's you. Everybody always worries about somebody else, but if you're worrying about someone else, who is it that you're worrying about? You, right? You are your greatest mirror and the greatest creation of us. Yes or no. Okay. So where does fear start to stem from? Well, it stems from you, right? So if you can't, I was talking, I wasn't talking, I was just shopping, and this is going to be very short. But someone was talking about money and stress and things like that. And they were kind of saying, oh, well, I really need to buy this and I've got to buy that, but I can't afford this and I can't do that. And so-and-so's doing this and they're doing that. And I was thinking, wow, you've just stood there for 15 minutes and you've just consumed and wasted a load of energy telling somebody what you can't do. What you can't do. So what is the universe listening to you saying? That I can't? Or that I can? Or that I can? In order to let something out, you've got to let something in. And in order to let something in, you have to let something go. Okay? Let it go. So if you start to look at this as us, we are all cut from the same cloth. In my book, that would be where that comes from. We are all cut from the same cloth. Pink Floyd also. One of these days, I'm going to cut you into 1 billion pieces. Light ascension of 7. 7. Aligning yourself with everybody. Dark and light. Separation of who? You. You. So if you look at this as you, who is it that you're listening to? You, right? You're listening to you. Well, I was just listening to a woman for 15 to 20 minutes that was standing there holding up the cue because she was overexerting herself with so much energy of what she was saying to somebody else of what she can't do. And all I could actually think was, well, what is it that you're actually letting out to let something in? You're more worried about what it is that you have to let go of in order to get something else. So what you're actually not doing is getting anything, and you're not really getting anywhere. And you're not actually getting anywhere with the amount of energy that you're consuming talking to a woman that you barely know for 20 minutes about an armchair. About an armchair. And about how tired she is. And how knackered she is. Okay? So then I thought, well, why are you doing that then? Well, that's all I'm good at. Really? Really? That's all you're good at? So are you in alignment with that? Are you in alignment with that? Are you okay? Because what you start to do is that you start to put out an intention that you're ungrateful for anything that you have. So you're not letting go of anything to let anything in. It's like selling out. A lot of people start to look at, well, I can't move forward because someone won't let go of me, or I hold so much resentment, or someone does me that they have so much over me that I can't actually move forward. So then who's deceiving who? Are they deceiving you? Are you deceiving them? Or are you actually deceiving yourself? Well, you're actually deceiving yourself because you're fearing. If you fear, then you fear letting anything go. So then what's the future going to bring if you can't let anything in? You can't let anything in because you can't let anything go. So fear stems from you, right? The last thing that you ever want to do is to actually fear doing, saying, thinking or feeling, because what you're doing is that you're overanalyzing and thinking and feeling too much, and you look too much into things by your thoughts, your emotional self of your head. You can never crack the code to anybody or even yourself because it's not yet shown. So you have to look at this as being related to everybody and everybody being cut from the same cloth. Not everybody is the same. Their soul is the same. Our souls and our souls, we're all the same, but our minds and our conditioning is not the same. That's why you fear letting go. Because the conditioning of somebody else is also you. Is also you. You know. A lot of people that I kind of, because what you have to do is like a lot of people fear communication. They do. I'll tell you something about myself, right? I don't give too much away, but I'll tell you something about myself. On my journey, it's only really been within the last 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 months ago, and for many years before that, I suffered from phone phobia. I couldn't talk to anybody across a phone. I daren't phone anybody. I locked myself away, and if anything was needed to be a phone call, I would get someone else to do it for me. Because I feared so much of what someone else that I couldn't see and didn't know what was happening on the other side of the phone, that I feared doing it so much. Okay? For what's unseen. What's unseen to us. Okay? So it keeps us in illusion. A bit like the future. Okay? A bit like the future. But then when I realised that every time I actually had to make that phone call, it's like a cry for help, like our soul of a 9. when I actually made that phone call, I actually realised that I was actually quite a good communicator, and that I could quite easily express my opinion of what it was that I needed from the other person on the phone. And then I suddenly realised that the other person on the other end of the phone was nowhere near as scary as what I actually thought when I actually made that step. It was actually quite simple. Now, a lot of you may find that funny, or you might kind of think, well, why on earth? Why on earth? Okay. Well, fear comes in many different forms and patterns of our mind, because fear grows. It grows. Okay. So if you can't let something out, how can you let it in? It's like a phone directory. If I never did make that step, where would I be now? Okay. So I made those steps, and I started to make, obviously, this channel, and I started to realize that in order to really help people, that I needed to start to do the Skype calls and to actually talk to people where it actually really helps them so much more. You know, because it's also resonation of tone. It's fear. Fear comes from so many different parts of our body. The most important thing ever in tarot, in life, is communication. It's communication, because that's where you know where you are, and that's where other people know where they are, and that's where that's where we all know where we are. Okay? Fear, because you sell out to yourself, because you sell out to someone else. So who again are you selling out to? To yourself. You know, because purging comes in many different forms of, and it's all, trust me, it is all about communication of honesty, because if you can't be honest with the future, who are you not being honest with? The past and the future of everybody. Okay, so if you start to blame someone else, who are you really blaming? Yourself again, right? That's why you can't let it go. That's why you fear and feel so bad, because you fear letting anything go. In order to let anything in, you have to let it go. In order to let anything go, you have to let something in. If something is keeping you stuck and trapped and you fear it, let it go. Let it go. Okay? Now, I've seen through the cards and stuff that's gone on, and that's why I thought I would do this very quick segment now. Because a lot of people, they're suffering through entrapment, and they're suffering through narcissism. You know, never be fooled. Never be fooled. Because a very foolish person would go backwards towards the dark of what it took you so long in order to reach out, to wonder how am I going to get out of it? You know, it's a bit like a predatorial energy, you know. Something that's remained in the dark so long, when it starts to enter the form of light, it realizes that it has to change shape. Okay, it's like the wolf being the sheep, and the sheep is the wolf, and the sheep and the wolf is the sheep, and the sheep is the wolf. Okay? So when it starts to enter the light, it realizes, well, in order to reach my destinational point, I need to change. Like everybody. Okay? Like everybody. But not everybody does change. So many people in life are completely different. And some people are very nasty people. They really are very nasty people, you know. This is why you need self-awareness. You need self-awareness. Because if you're not, you fear and you become codependent. And then when you're codependent, if you think, well, okay, well, I'm just not going to deal with anything, and I'm just going to let it go but not deal with it, then what you do is that you cannot escape karma, because that's what it's here for. Also a cycle, but very enforcing, where if you don't deal with things and release and purge out, you just attract in, and because people start to say a lot, well, why is it that I keep walking myself back into the same kind of situations in my whole life? Okay. Well, that's because you didn't deal with the situation that you was in. You didn't learn anything about yourself. You know, you have to not blame society, because what you do is when you blame someone else is like you're blaming yourself. You have to see things for what they are. You can't hold resentment against people, okay? You just have to let them go. You can't hold resentment against people, because if you hold resentment against people, you're holding resentment against yourself and you're keeping yourself trapped. There's no one that keeps you trapped. You have free will. And Source will let you do that, because Source is you. The biggest, greatest energy source of everything is all of us, because we are all cut from the same cloth. But it's the conditioning that people keep trying to crack that you will never crack. That's the ship. That's the ship. Okay. That's why I kind of put on certain things, is, you know, what I've said in a lot of the intros and the readings, is that I don't believe in the perfect match. I believe in the spark that created it. Self-belief. Self-belief. Because we are all self. We are all one. We are all one beacon of light and dark. Past is called history. It's a history that you've actually had with someone, okay? And it's left it in a mystery. A mystery. The mystery is yet untold. Silence. Okay? This is what I was saying about purging. When you release, believe you me, I have been there. I have been there. And that took me a lot to release. But I was still always a great communicator. But when you release that burden of what it is that you're suppressing through speech and through many different things, it is such a release. It's such a release. Because it's everything. 8, which is the 8 of Wands, okay, is everything. Because it's 8. Okay? 1 in 7, 8. Okay? Which is the Magician, which is also the 2 of Pentacles, like balance. Okay? It makes you balanced and stable. Because fear comes from speech. It does. Because we hold everything in. So when you hold it in for so long, you then become more fearful of the future, because you've suppressed so much that you don't realise that you're actually going backwards more. So the more time that it takes, because you're not releasing. Okay? To become in alignment with 7, you need 8. You need 8, because 8 is the Magician. It's universal energy of us all. Of all of us. Source, energy, communication. If we didn't have communication, right, we didn't have phones and the internet or communication of letters or travel, the world, if we didn't have travel, communication, like lights, red, go, amber, stop, look, listen, listening, speaking and listening, okay? When we don't have that, where would we be? if we didn't have cars or travel or walking, writing letters, sending emails, sending a pigeon or a smoke signal, it was still communication right back from the start. You know, a letter that got sent by horseback or by a smoke signal, we had to communicate with other people because we also had war across the world, you know, because people fight all the time. And without communication, there was communication breakdown. And what did that cause? Fight. Fight or flight. With who? All of us. We kill each other because we are each other. We are all one being, and for some reason we kill each other and we hate each other. So if we're hating each other, who are we killing? You know? So I'm going to leave it there at the moment, okay? But what I'm going to have coming up soon, I will do a video on, but it's going to be up in March, and it's going to be called Run Like Hell. So I'm going to look into certain things, and I will give... I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, okay? But I will probably do another segment in order to let people know what it is I'm going to do. I'm going to do different kind of spreads, mirror spreads, all that kind of stuff. Okay, and we're going to go into that. Personal readings are still there. A lot of people have been reaching out and asking for personal readings, okay? Some people in the comments, there is a link in the description, an email, all that kind of stuff, and it's all in the description. Emails, everything, it's all in the description. Everything for Vimeo, a lot of you have been purchasing the Vimeo. I really do appreciate that. So if you don't know about that, that is also in the description, okay? And I'll probably make a different page for what I'm going to do in March for separate things also, okay? So I thought I would leave you with that, guys. Just a quick brain teaser of fear. Never fear, okay? I always try to get you to believe in yourself. Because if you believe in yourself, I believe in myself. Okay? I'll catch you soon.